Part 1. The diplomatic deception. Captain Marcus Chin looked out the viewport of his transport ship as Nexus 7 space station grew larger in front of him. The massive station rotated slowly against the backdrop of distant stars. It was neutral territory, built by 7 different alien races working together. Today, it would decide if humans lived or died. Marcus adjusted his dress uniform one more time. The mirror showed a 35-year-old man with tired eyes and graying temples. 3 years of border conflicts with the Zephyrian Empire had aged him beyond his years. Now, as Earth's lead negotiator, he carried the hopes of 12 billion humans on his shoulders. "We're docking now," his aide, Lieutenant Sarah Park, announced from the pilot's seat. "The Zephyrian delegation arrived 2 hours ago." Marcus nodded. It studied everything Earth's intelligence services knew about the Zephyrians. They were an advanced species that controlled a third of the galaxy's outer rim. Their technology was superior to humanity's in every way. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, and their soldiers seemed to feel no fear. The docking tube connected with a soft thud. Marcus walked through the airlock into Nexus 7's main reception area. The station's artificial gravity felt different under his feet, slightly lighter than Earth normal. Alien species moved through the corridors, tall blue-skinned Altarians, insect-like hive delegates, and others he didn't recognize. "Captain Chen," a voice spoke behind him in perfect English. Marcus turned and felt his breath catch in his throat. Standing before him was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She was tall and graceful, with pale skin that seemed to glow softly in the station's lights. Her hair was silver white and fell in waves to her shoulders. Most striking of all was the mask that covered the upper half of her face, an intricate piece of art made from what looked like living metal, decorated with blue gems that pulsed with their own light. "I am Princess Lirelei of the Zephyrian Empire," she said, extending a hand. Her voice had a musical quality, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I will be leading our delegation in these talks." Marcus took her hand. Her skin was cool to the touch, but her grip was firm. "Princess, I'm honored to meet you. Hope we can find a peaceful solution to our ... difficulties. As do I, Captain. War benefits no one." She gestured toward a corridor lined with viewing ports. "Shall we walk? I find that business discussions flow better when people are comfortable." They walked side by side through the station's diplomatic quarter. Marcus found himself stealing glances at the princess. Even through the mask, he could see that her eyes were an unusual shade of violet, almost luminescent. When she spoke, her lips curved in ways that suggested she was smiling, but he couldn't be sure. "Tell me, Captain," she said as they passed a garden area filled with plants from dozens of worlds, "what do humans value most? Your intelligence reports speak of many things: freedom, family, individual rights. But what drives your species?" At its core, Marcus considered the question carefully. "Hope, I think. Humans always believe tomorrow can be better than today. Even when everything looks dark, we keep trying to improve things." "Hope," she repeated, as if tasting the word. "It's an interesting concept. My people value efficiency, order, the perfection of systems. Hope seems ... chaotic." "Maybe that's why we're having this conflict," Marcus said. "Different values leading to different goals." They entered the formal negotiation chamber, a circular room with a crystal table in the center. The Zephyrian delegation was already there, 3 tall figures in flowing robes, their faces hidden behind masks similar to the princess's, but less ornate. Marcus's team took their seats across from them. For the next 4 hours, they discussed territory disputes, trade routes, and mining rights. The princess proved to be brilliant at negotiations. She understood every detail of the complex agreements and seemed to anticipate Marcus's arguments before he made them. Yet there was something else. Moments when she would pause and study him with those violet eyes, as if trying to solve a puzzle. During a break, Marcus and the princess found themselves alone on an observation deck. The stars beyond the viewport seemed cold and distant. "Your species fascinates me," she said suddenly. "Earlier today, I watched your Lieutenant Park give her lunch to a maintenance worker who had forgotten his meal. There was no benefit to her, no strategic advantage. Yet she did it anyway. That's just being human, Marcus replied. We help each other, it's who we are. Who you are, she repeated softly. She reached up and touched her mask with one finger. Do you ever wonder what lies beneath the surface, Captain? What we hide from each other? Before Marcus could answer, Lieutenant Park's voice came over his communicator. Sir, we need you back in the chamber. The Zephyrians want to discuss the Kepler colony situation. As they walked back, Marcus noticed something odd. In the reflection of a polished wall panel, the princess's mask seemed to blend seamlessly with her face, as if it wasn't separate at all. The gems pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, if Zephyrians had heartbeats. The afternoon session focused on the disputed Kepler system. Humans had established 3 colonies there before discovering that Zephyrians considered it part of their ancient territory. The colonies were now home to nearly 1 million people. Colonies must be evacuated, stated one of the Zephyrian delegates, his voice cold and mechanical through his mask. They violate the Treaty of Centauri. Those people have lived there for 15 years, Marcus argued. They've built homes, schools, entire communities. You can't just tell them to leave. Princess Lirelei held up a hand, silencing her own delegate. Perhaps there is a compromise. What if the colonies remained, but paid a tribute to the Empire? Recognition of our prior claim, but allowance for human settlement? The other Zephyrians turned to stare at her. Even through their masks, Marcus could sense their surprise. This wasn't what they had expected their princess to say that, ... It could work, Marcus said carefully. What kind of tribute? Cultural exchange, she said immediately. Your people could teach us about human art, music, literature. We have much to learn about your species. Again, the Zephyrian delegates seemed shocked. One of them leaned over and whispered something urgently to the princess. She listened, then replied in their own language, a series of clicks and harmonics that hurt Marcus's ears. As the day's sessions ended, Marcus walked the princess back to her quarters. The station's artificial night cycle had begun dimming. The lights in the corridors. Thank you, he said as they stopped outside her door. For the compromise on Kepler. I know your people weren't expecting that. She turned to face him, her violet eyes bright in the dim light. Captain, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Someone you cared about was not what they appeared to be. If they were hiding something terrible, could you still love them? The question caught Marcus off guard. That would depend on what they were hiding and why. But I think real love means accepting someone for who they truly are, not just who they appear to be. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, very quietly, she said, You may be the most remarkable human I have ever met. After she went inside, Marcus stood in the corridor for several minutes, thinking about her question. And why did he feel like there were layers of meaning he wasn't understanding? As he walked back to his own quarters, Marcus caught a glimpse of his reflection in a viewport. Beyond it, stars stretched to infinity. Somewhere out there, human and Zephyrian fleets waited to see if diplomacy would succeed, or if they would have to settle their differences with weapons. But Marcus found himself thinking less about fleets and more about violet eyes and mysterious questions. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new negotiations, and hopefully, new understanding between their species. He just hoped he was ready for whatever truths tomorrow might reveal. The station hummed around him as alien and human diplomats, prepared for another day that could change the fate of the galaxy. In her quarters, Princess Lirelei stood before a mirror, her hand hovering over her mask, wondering if she had the courage to show this remarkable human who she really was. And in the depths of space, ancient ships moved through the darkness, carrying secrets that would soon test everything Marcus thought he knew about love, trust, and the true nature of the galaxy's most dangerous predators. Part 2. The Hunter's Truth. Marcus woke up at 0400 hours, 2 hours before his alarm. Sleep had been impossible every time he closed his eyes. He saw Princess Lirelei's violet gaze and heard her strange question about love and hidden truths. Something about her felt wrong, but also incredibly right. He dressed quickly and made his way to the station's intelligence center. Lieutenant Park was already there, surrounded by data screens and coffee cups. Couldn't sleep either, sir. Asked without looking up. What have you found? Marcus asked, pulling up a chair. Park's expression was grim. I ran deep scans on all available Zephyrian data. Marcus, I think we're in serious trouble. She highlighted a section on her screen. Look at this. The report was classified at the highest levels. Marcus read it twice before the words sank in. The Devourers? I thought they were just a myth. So did everyone else. But 3 star systems have gone completely dark in the past 50 years. No distress signals, no survivors, nothing. Just empty planets with all organic life stripped away. Park zoomed in on tactical displays. Pattern matches exactly with Zephyrian expansion routes. Marcus felt cold. Are you saying the Zephyrians are the Devourers? I'm saying the evidence points that way, and there's more. Park pulled up another file. Princess Lirelei isn't just any diplomat. According to our sources, she personally led the infiltration of the Altair system before it fell. She spent 2 years building trust with their leaders, learning their weaknesses, making them believe in peace treaties. The images showed beautiful crystal cities reduced to empty shells, billions of blue-skinned Altarians, simply gone. Then the Corvani Republic Park continued. Same pattern. Princess Lirelei arrived as a peace negotiator. 6 months later, the entire system was harvested, and before that, the Theta colonies. Marcus stared at the data, his stomach churning. 3 civilizations, billions of sentient beings, all dead because they trusted a beautiful princess who promised peace. Sir Park said quietly, if this is true, then Earth is next. We're walking right into her trap. Marcus stood up abruptly. I need to think. Keep analyzing the data, but don't share this with anyone else yet. He walked to the station's observation deck, where the morning shift was just beginning. Maintenance crews moved through the corridors, alien traders set up their stalls, and diplomats prepared for another day of negotiations. All of them trusting that Nexus 7 was safe, neutral ground. But what if it wasn't? What if the greatest predator in the galaxy was walking among them, wearing the face of an angel? 2 hours later, Marcus sat across from Princess Lirelei in the negotiation chamber. She looked as beautiful as ever, her silver hair catching the light, her violet eyes bright with intelligence. But now he saw something else, the way she watched everyone, cataloging their reactions, studying their weaknesses. You seem distracted today, Captain, she said during a break in discussions. Is something troubling you? Just thinking about what you said yesterday, Marcus replied carefully. About hiding who we really are. Her hand moved to her mask, a gesture he was beginning to recognize as nervous habit. And what conclusion did you reach? That everyone hides something? The question is whether they hide it to protect others or to hurt them. She was quiet for a long moment. What if someone hid their true nature because they were afraid? That if others saw who they really were, they would be rejected, hunted, destroyed. Then I'd say that person has never met the right people, Marcus answered. Real acceptance means seeing someone's worst parts and choosing to stay anyway. Something flickered in her violet eyes. Pain, hope, before he could decide. The other Zephyrian delegates returned to the table. The afternoon session focused on trade agreements. But Marcus noticed something new in Princess Lirelei's behavior. When her fellow delegates suggested terms that would give Zephyrians access to human colonies, she quietly modified them. When they proposed military cooperation that would reveal Earth's defenses, she steered the conversation toward cultural exchange instead. Princess, one of the delegates said in their clicking language, you are not following the agreed strategy. She replied in the same language. But Marcus caught something in her tone, defiance. That evening, Marcus found her in the station's arboretum. A vast garden filled with plants from across the galaxy. She stood before a small earth oak tree, her fingers gently touching its leaves. This is beautiful, she said without turning around. On my world, we have no trees like this. Everything is ... manufactured, efficient, perfect. Imperfection has its own beauty, Marcus said, joining her. That tree isn't the strongest or the fastest growing, but it survived ice ages and droughts. Sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones that refuse to give up. She turned to face him, and in the soft light of the arboretum, he could see tears glistening in her violet eyes. Marcus, What would you do if you discovered that someone you trusted was your enemy? That they had been sent to destroy everything you loved? His heart stopped. She knew that he knew. Somehow she had figured out that he had discovered her true nature. I would ask them why, he said quietly, and I would listen to their answer, even if that answer could get you killed. Even then. She moved closer to him, close enough that he could smell her strange, sweet scent, like flowers that bloomed only in starlight. Marcus, I need to tell you something. But not here. Too many ears, too many eyes. Meet me in observation deck 7 at midnight. Come alone. After she left, Marcus stood among the alien plants, his mind racing. This was obviously a trap. She was the devourer, the destroyer of worlds, and she was luring him to an isolated part of the station. Any rational person would alert security, call for backup, protect themselves, but he remembered the tears in her eyes. The way her voice had broken when she asked about enemies and trust. Whatever game she was playing, she wasn't playing it the same way anymore. At 2,350 hours, Marcus made his decision. He walked to observation deck 7, a small viewing area rarely used by station personnel. Princess Lirelei was already there, silhouetted against the stars. You came, she said, sounding surprised. I said I would listen. I'm listening. She turned to face him, and even in the dim light he could see that she was trembling. Marcus, everything you think you know about me is true. I am a hunter. I was sent here to study your species, to find your weaknesses, to prepare Earth for harvest. The words hit him like physical blows, but he forced himself to remain still. I have done this before, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. 3 times. 3 worlds that trusted me, that welcomed me, that thought I was their friend. I delivered them to the collective to be consumed. Then why are you telling me this? Marcus asked. 'Cause something is wrong with me? She pressed her hands against her mask, and for a moment it seemed to flicker. The process was supposed to be simple. Study the target species, map there. Emotional responses, find the optimal approach for infiltration, but with humans. ... with you. ... something changed. What changed? I was supposed to feel nothing. We devourers don't experience emotions the way other species do. We are perfect hunters, perfect predators. But when I watch Lieutenant Park share her meals, when I see you risk everything for peace, when you tell me that real love means acceptance, ... She took a shaky breath. I feel things I don't understand. Things that hurt and help at the same time. Marcus stepped closer. What do you feel? Guilt, regret, and something else. ... No, something warm when I look at you. The technicians who prepared me for this mission said it was impossible. Devourers cannot form emotional attachments. We cannot love, but you do. I think I do, and it's killing me. She laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. Literally. My body is rejecting the emotional responses. The mask isn't just ceremonial, Marcus. It's life support. It's holding me together as my own biology wars against itself. Marcus reached out and gently touched her hand. It was ice cold and trembling. What happens now? I don't know. The fleet is already moving toward Earth. In 3 days, they will arrive and begin the harvest. Unless... Unless what? Unless I find a way to stop them. But that would mean betraying everything I am, everything I was created to be, and it might kill me in the process. Marcus squeezed her hand. Then we'd better figure out how to keep you alive. For the first time since he'd met her, Princess Lirelei smiled, really smiled. Not the diplomatic expression she wore in meetings. It was beautiful and terrible and hopeful all at once. You still want to help me, even knowing what I am? Especially knowing what you are? Marcus said. Because now I know what you're choosing to become. Outside the viewport, stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, different to the small drama playing out on a space station at the edge of nowhere. But in that moment, something fundamental shifted in the balance of the galaxy. A predator had learned to love, and a human had chosen to trust in the possibility of redemption. The real negotiations were just beginning. Part 3. The metamorphosis the next morning brought chaos to the negotiation chamber. Princess Lirelei arrived 20 minutes late, something she had never done before. When she finally entered, Marcus could see immediately that something was wrong. Her usual graceful walk had become unsteady, and she gripped the back of her chair for support. "Princess, are you unwell?" asked Commander Vex, the lead Zephyrian delegate. His metallic voice carried no warmth, only suspicion. "I am fine," Lirelei replied, but her musical voice cracked on the words. She sat down carefully, her violet eyes meeting Marcus's across the table. In them, he saw pain and something that looked like panic. The morning session focused on military cooperation agreements. The Zephyrian delegates wanted detailed information about Earth's defense systems, locations of major population centers, and fleet deployment schedules. Standard procedure for what they claimed would be joint training exercises. Marcus watched as Lirelei struggled to participate. Every few minutes, she would press her hand against her mask, and he could see her shoulders tense with what must be waves of pain. But worse than her physical distress was what she was doing to the negotiations. Perhaps, she said during a discussion about Earth's orbital defenses, we should start with smaller joint exercises. Test our compatibility before sharing sensitive military data. Commander Vex turned his masked face toward her. "Princess, our orders were clear. Full military integration is required for effective cooperation." "Orders change," she replied, her voice growing stronger. "I am the lead negotiator here, and I believe a gradual approach will build more trust between our species." The other Zephyrian delegates exchanged glances. Marcus could feel the tension building in the room. This wasn't how their princess was supposed to behave. During the lunch break, Marcus followed Lirelei to a small conference room she had reserved for private meetings. She was standing with her back to the door, her hands pressed flat against the wall, as if she needed it to hold her up. "The pain is getting worse," he said quietly. She turned around and Marcus gasped. Hairline cracks had appeared in her mask, spiderwebbing out from the temples. Through the largest crack, he could see something that wasn't quite skin underneath. It looked wet and dark, and seemed to move on its own. "It's breaking down," she whispered. "The biological systems that were supposed to keep me stable in this form, they're failing." "What does that mean?" "It means you're going to see what I really am, and when you do," she closed her eyes. "When you do, you won't be able to look at me the same way." Marcus stepped closer. "Try me." She laughed, but it sounded like crying. "Marcus, you don't understand. Humans have nightmares about creatures like me. Your children's stories are full of monsters that look like what I am underneath this mask. But you're not a monster. Not anymore. My body doesn't know that. It's trying to revert to its natural state. The emotions, the feelings I have for you and your species, my biology sees them as a disease to be cured." She moved to the room's viewport and stared out at the stars. "I've been having dreams. Memories that aren't mine. I see the Altair system as it was before we came, those beautiful crystal cities, millions of beings living in harmony, and then I see it after, empty, silent. All because I convinced them to trust us." "That wasn't you," Marcus said firmly. "That was what you were made to be, was it? Or was this just another layer of the deception? What if caring about you, about humans, is just another hunting strategy my subconscious developed?" Before Marcus could answer, an alarm chimed softly. "Princess Lirelei to the communication center. Priority message from the Zephyrian fleet." She straightened her shoulders, trying to compose herself. "I have to go. My handlers want a progress report." Marcus watched her leave, noting how she kept one hand on the wall for support. The cracks in her mask were spreading. That afternoon's session was a disaster. Princess Lirelei seemed to be fighting a war inside her own head. She would start to agree to a Zephyrian proposal, then suddenly change her position mid-sentence. She questioned plans that would have given her people strategic advantages. She even suggested that some human colonies should be granted permanent protection status. Princess Commander Vex said during a heated discussion about mining rights, "Perhaps you need medical attention. Your behavior today has been erratic." "My behavior," she replied, her voice sharp with pain and anger, "is focused on finding solutions that benefit both our species, not just our own." "That was not your mission briefing." The room fell silent. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. Commander Vex had just openly contradicted his own princess in front of the human delegation, implying that she was not following orders. "My mission," Lorelei said slowly, "is to prevent a war that would cost millions of lives on both sides." "No," Vex replied, standing up. "Your mission is to prepare this species for integration into the collective. Nothing more." The word integration hung in the air like poison. Marcus knew what it really meant. Harvest, consumption, the complete annihilation of human civilization. Lorelei stood as well, swaying slightly. "Then perhaps it's time for new missions." The other Zephyrian delegates rose in unison. "Princess, you will return to your quarters immediately for medical evaluation," Vex commanded. "I will do no such thing." As she spoke, another crack appeared in her mask, this one running from her left temple down to her cheek. Something dark and wet leaked from it, and the smell that filled the room was like copper and electricity. Princess stepped toward her, but she held up a hand to stop him. "Don't," she said, her voice distorting strangely. "Don't come any closer. I don't know what I might do." She looked at Marcus, and he saw terror in her violet eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Then she ran from the room. Marcus started to follow, but Commander Vex blocked his path. "The princess is having a medical emergency. Human interference would not be wise. She's in pain. Let me help her." "You have helped quite enough, Captain Chen." The way Vex said it made Marcus's skin crawl, perhaps too much. That evening, Marcus paced his quarters like a caged animal. Lieutenant Park had tried to brief him on new intelligence reports, but he couldn't concentrate. Somewhere on this station, Lorelei was suffering, and he was stuck here playing diplomatic games while her own people treated her like a malfunctioning machine. At 2,200 hours, his door chimed. He opened it to find a station maintenance worker in coveralls and a cap pulled low over their face. "Package for Captain Chen," the worker said in a muffled voice. Only when the worker looked up did Marcus realize it was Lorelei. The left side of her mask had completely fallen away, replaced by a crude metal plate that looked like emergency medical equipment. Her violet eye on that side was bloodshot and surrounded by what looked like circuitry embedded in organic tissue. "May I come in?" she asked. Marcus quickly pulled her inside. "What happened to you? Emergency surgery? Zephyrian medical technology?" She touched the metal plate covering half her face. "It's buying me time, but not much. Commander Vex has contacted the fleet. They're accelerating the timeline." "What timeline?" "The harvest begins in 18 hours. They were supposed to wait for my signal, but Vex has convinced them that I've been compromised by human psychological warfare." Marcus felt the room spin around him. 18 hours? "I tried to delay them to give us more time to find another solution. But my medical emergency has made them suspicious. They think you've somehow infected me with human emotions, haven't I?" She looked at him with her one uncovered eye, and he saw in it something he had never seen before in any alien, a soul in torment. "Yes. And it's the most wonderful and terrible thing that's ever happened to me." The metal plate on her face sparked, and she winced in pain. "Marcus, there's something else. The fleet isn't just coming to harvest Earth. They're bringing a new prototype weapon, something that can strip the life from an entire planet in minutes instead of months. Earth will be their test case." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've made my choice." She reached out and took his hand with fingers that were too cold and slightly wrong in shape. "I don't want to be a devourer anymore. I want to be something else, something better." "What do you want to be?" For the first time since he'd known her, Princess Lorelei smiled without any mask at all, literal or figurative. Half her face was hidden behind crude metal, but the half he could see was radiant with hope and determination. "I want to be someone worthy of the love you've shown me, even if it kills me." Outside the viewport, stars wheeled in their eternal dance, unaware that in 18 hours, one of them would die unless a broken princess and a human captain could find a miracle. The real war was about to begin. Part 4. The revelation Marcus stared at the chronometer on his wall. 15 hours and 37 minutes until the Devourer fleet arrived at Earth. 15 hours to save 12 billion human lives. He turned to look at Princess Lirelei, who sat hunched over his small table, her remaining organic eye focused on a holographic display of the solar system. "There has to be something," she muttered, her voice distorted by the crude metal plate covering half her face. "Some weakness in their approach pattern, some flaw in their new weapon system." "Tell me about this weapon," Marcus said, pulling up a chair beside her. "How does it work?" Lirelei's fingers danced over the holographic control, zooming in on technical specifications that hurt Marcus's eyes to look at. "It's called the Neural Cascade Device. Instead of the old harvesting methods that took months to strip a planet clean, this weapon targets the neural networks of all organic life simultaneously." Neural networks. Every living thing has electrical patterns in its brain or equivalent organ. The device broadcasts a specific frequency that overloads these patterns, causing immediate death. Then automated systems collect and process the organic matter. Her voice was clinical, emotionless, as if she was discussing weather patterns. Instead of genocide, Marcus felt sick. "How long does it take?" 7 minutes for a complete planetary cleansing. It was tested on dead worlds first, then on small colonies. Earth will be the first major population center. "And you helped design this thing?" Lirelei flinched as if he had struck her. "I provided biological data on human neural patterns. Brain scans, reaction times, emotional responses." She looked at him with her remaining violet eye, and he saw shame and horror there. "I mapped every weakness of your species, Marcus. Every way you could be hurt or controlled or killed." The room was quiet, except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Marcus watched the woman who had doomed his species, who was now trying to save it, who was slowly dying from the conflict between what she was and what she wanted to become. "There's more," she said quietly. "Something I haven't told you." "What?" "The neural cascade device needs a neural template to work properly. A detailed map of the target species' brain patterns to ensure complete coverage." She paused, her breathing becoming labored. "I am that template, Marcus. My modified brain contains every scan, every measurement, every neural pathway of human consciousness." Marcus understood immediately. "You're the key component. Without me, the weapon is just a very expensive radio transmitter. With me, ... She gestured weakly at the holographic display. "With me, it becomes the perfect killing machine for your species. Then we have to get you away from here. Hide you somewhere the fleet can't find you." Lirelei shook her head. "It won't work. The neural template isn't just stored in my memory. It's been integrated into my biological structure. As long as I exist, the weapon can function." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You're saying the only way to save Earth is ... is for me to die?" "Yes," she said it calmly, as if discussing dinner plans. "But there's a problem with that solution, too." "What problem?" "The modifications they made to my brain weren't just to store human neural patterns. They were also designed to make me the perfect infiltrator. Part of that design involved creating backup systems." She touched the metal plate on her face. "If my primary consciousness dies, emergency protocols will activate. My body will revert to basic devourer programming and continue to function as a neural template." Marcus slumped in his chair. "So killing you won't work, and keeping you alive means Earth dies?" "There is one possibility." Lirelei's voice was so quiet he could barely hear her. "But it's dangerous, and it might not work." "Tell me." "Neural cascade device works by broadcasting a death frequency matched to specific neural patterns. But what if we could broadcast a different signal, something that would disrupt the device instead of enhancing it?" "What kind of signal?" "The opposite of death, life, hope, love." She looked at him intently. "The emotions I've learned from you and your species. The feelings that are literally tearing my biology apart because they're so foreign to devour." Nature, Marcus began to understand. "You want to use your emotional transformation as a weapon. Not a weapon. A cure. If I can broadcast the neural patterns of human emotion through the same network they plan to use for destruction, it might. Overload their systems instead of ours? Might. I've never heard of anything like this being attempted. The emotional centers they grafted into my brain were designed to be temporary, reversible modifications. Using them as a broadcast source could burn them out completely. And then what happens to you? Lirelei was quiet for a long moment. She spoke. Her voice was steady but sad. Then I become what I was before, a devourer, creature incapable of love or mercy or hope. Everything I feel for you, everything I've learned about being more than just a predator, ... it would all be gone. Marcus reached out and took her hand. Her skin was getting colder, and he could feel strange textures under the surface, as if things were moving beneath her flesh. There has to be another way. If there is, we have 14 hours to find it. They spent the next 6 hours going through every piece of technical data Lirelei could access about the Devourer fleet and their new weapon. Marcus called in Lieutenant Park and his best technical specialists, swearing them to secrecy. The small conference room became a war room filled with holographic displays, coffee cups, and the desperate energy of people trying to save their world. What about jamming the signal? Park suggested during their 5th hour of brainstorming. Broadcast frequency is too complex, replied Dr. Sarah Kim, Marcus's science advisor. It's not just radio waves. It's a quantum-entangled neural pattern that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Lirelei nodded weakly. The metal plate on her face was sparking more frequently now, and strange clicking sounds came from her throat when she spoke. Won't work. The only way to stop it is to corrupt the template itself. What if we extracted the neural patterns from your brain? Dr. Kim asked. Surgical removal of the modified sections. The integration is too complete. Removing them would kill me, and as I explained, my death would just trigger the backup systems. Marcus watched Lirelei struggle to stay focused as her modified biology continued to break down. Every few minutes she would press her hand to her head and gasp in pain. Whatever the Zephyrian doctors had done to stabilize her was failing. At hour 8, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Long-range sensors are picking up massive gravitational distortions, announced the station commander over the intercom. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. All diplomatic personnel report to emergency stations immediately. Marcus and his team rushed to the observation deck. In the distance, pinpricks of light were appearing against the starfield. As they watched, the lights grew brighter and larger, resolving into ships of impossible size and alien design. The Devourer fleet, Lirelei whispered, joining them at the viewport. Half her face was now completely hidden behind the failing metal plate, and her remaining eye had developed a disturbing inner glow. They're ahead of schedule. How long do we have? Marcus asked. 6 hours until they reach Earth. The neural cascade device has a maximum range of 1 astronomical unit, so they'll need to get close to your sun before they can use it effectively. Lieutenant Park was already on her communicator, trying to reach Earth Command. Sir, all long-range communications are being jammed. We can't warn them. Is there any way to get a message through? Not through normal channels, but ... She paused. Her organic eye, unfocusing, as if she was listening to something only she could hear. The neural link. I still have a connection to the fleet's command. Systems. I could send a message, but it would reveal my location and my ... condition. Do it. Marcus, if I open that link, Commander Vex will know immediately that I've been compromised. He'll order the fleet to begin the harvest process the moment they're in range, regardless of whether I'm in position to provide the neural template. And if you don't, then they'll follow the original plan, which gives us 6 hours to find another solution. Marcus looked out at the approaching fleet, hundreds of ships, each one capable of destroying entire star systems. Earth's defenses, impressive as they were, would last maybe 20 minutes against a force like that. 6 hours isn't enough time, he said finally. Send the message. Lirelei nodded and closed her remaining eye. The metal plate on her face began to glow with an eerie blue light, and she started speaking in the clicking, harmonic language of the Devoure-RS. The conversation lasted 3 minutes. When it ended, Lirelei opened her eye and looked at Marcus with an expression of absolute despair. What did they say? He asked. Commander Vex has declared me a traitor to the collective. The fleet is changing course to intercept Nexus 7 first. They'll extract the neural template from my corpse, then proceed to Earth. How long do we have? 2 hours. Marcus felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. 2 hours to save Earth. To save Lirelei? To find a miracle in the depths of space. Then we'd better get to work, he said. Outside the viewport, the Devourer fleet grew larger and more menacing with each passing moment. Somewhere among those ships was a weapon designed to kill Evie. Part 5. Love Beyond forms 1 hour. And 43 minutes remained when the metal plate covering half of Princess Lirelei's face finally gave out completely. It fell to the floor of Marcus's quarters with a metallic clatter revealing what lay beneath. Marcus had thought he was prepared. He had imagined scales, tentacles, or insect-like features. What he saw was far worse, far more alien than anything his human mind could have conceived. The left side of Lirelei's face was a nightmarish fusion of organic tissue and living technology. Tubes and wires pulsed with bioluminescent fluid, connecting clusters of what looked like neurons floating in translucent gel. Her eye socket contained not one eye, but 3 smaller sensory organs that moved independently, scanning different spectrums of light. Below her cheekbone, a section of her skull was transparent, revealing brain tissue that writhed and sparked with electrical activity. But worst of all were the feeding tendrils, thin, finger-like appendages that emerged from where her jaw should be, tasting the air around her, searching for organic matter to consume. Marcus's first instinct was to step back, to run, to call for help. Every human survival instinct screamed at him that this was a predator, a monster, a thing that existed only to hunt and kill his species. Instead, he stepped forward and gently took her hand. "You're still you," he said quietly. Lirelei's remaining organic eye, the right one, still violet and beautiful, filled with tears. "How can you say that? Look at me, Marcus. Is this what I really am? This is a face that smiled while I planned the destruction of 3 civilizations." "No," Marcus said firmly. "This is the face of someone who chose to change, someone who learned to love." She pulled her hand away from his. "Love. I don't even know if what I feel is real or just another layer of programming designed to make me a better hunter. Does it matter? Of course it matters." "Why?" Marcus moved closer to her, close enough that he could smell the strange electrical scent of her alien biology. "If your feelings help you make good choices, if they make you want to protect instead of harm, if they make you willing to sacrifice for others, then they're real enough." The feeding tendrils on her face twitched toward him, but she pulled back with visible effort. "Stay away from me. I don't know how much control I have left. I trust you. You shouldn't." Outside, the Devourer fleet was now visible to the naked eye, constellation of deadly lights approaching Nexus 7. In the distance, they could see smaller ships detaching from the main fleet, moving toward the station at high speed. "Boarding." Craft, Lirelei said, her voice distorting as more of her human disguise failed. "They'll be here in 90 minutes. Then we need to try your plan. The emotional broadcast. Marcus, I need to tell you something else. About what will happen if we succeed." He looked at her, really looked at her, seeing past the alien horror to the person he had come to love. "Tell me. If I broadcast human emotions through the neural link, it won't just disrupt the weapon. It will transmit those feelings too. Every Devourer in the fleet, they'll experience love, hope, compassion, regret, emotions they were never designed to handle. That sounds like a good thing. It will drive most of them insane. Their biology will reject the foreign neural patterns, the same way mine has been rejecting them. Thousands of beings will die in agony, torn apart by their own minds." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "And the alternative is 12 billion humans dying in 7 minutes. Yes, then we do it." Lirelei stared at him with her violet eye and her 3 alien sensors. "You would ask me to become a mass murderer to save your species? I'm asking you, to save the people you've learned to love? What happens to your former colleagues is their choice. They could surrender, they could retreat, they could choose to feel instead of hunt. But what happens to Earth is our choice, and I choose to fight. She was quiet for so long that Marcus thought she might refuse. Then, slowly, she nodded. I'll need to access the station's main communications array, and I'll need you to help me. Focus the broadcast. How? By reminding me what it feels like to be human, what it feels like to love. They made their way through the station's corridors toward the communications center. Emergency alarms were blaring, and alien diplomats rushed past them, trying to reach evacuation shuttles. No one paid attention to a human captain escorting what appeared to be a badly injured Zephyrian princess. The communications center was empty except for automated systems. Lirale connected herself to the main array, using organic cables that emerged from her modified skull. The moment the connection was established, she screamed. "It hurts," she gasped. "The link is still active. I can feel the fleet's hunger, their eagerness for the hunt. It's trying to override everything I've learned, everything I've become." Marcus knelt beside her. "Then hold on to what matters. Remember Lieutenant Park sharing her lunch? Remember the oak tree and the arboretum? Remember what it felt like when you first realized you could choose to be different?" Lirale's face contorted with pain and effort. "I can see the weapon charging. They're preparing to fire the moment they reach Earth. Then stop them. I don't know if I can. The programming is so strong. It's telling me to fulfill my purpose, to complete the harvest, to feed the collective." Marcus took her alien hand in both of his. "You are more than your programming. You proved that the moment you warned me about the fleet. You proved it when you chose to feel guilty about the civilizations you helped destroy. You proved it when you fell in love." "Did I fall in love? Or was it just an advanced hunting strategy?" "Look at me," Marcus said, when she turned her violet eye toward him. He continued, "If this was just hunting strategy, would you be willing to die to save your prey? Would you be willing to suffer this much pain to protect the people you were sent to destroy?" Understanding dawned in her alien features. "No. A hunter protects only the hunt. But you're protecting something else now. What are you protecting, Lirale?" "Hope," she whispered. "I'm protecting hope." The moment she said it, something changed. The organic cables connecting her to the communications array began to glow with warm, golden light instead of the cold blue of devourer technology. Her remaining violet eye blazed with inner fire. "I can feel them," she said, her voice growing stronger. "Every devourer in the fleet. I can touch their minds. What do you see? Hunger. Endless, hollow hunger. They've forgotten what it feels like to be satisfied, to be content, to find joy in something other than consumption." Her voice filled with compassion. "They're so empty, Marcus, so terribly empty. Then fill them." Lirale closed her eye and reached out through the neural link to touch the minds of her former people. What she sent them wasn't data or commands or battle plans. What she sent them was everything she had learned about being human. She sent them the memory of her first laugh at one of Marcus's jokes. She sent them the wonder she had felt watching Lieutenant Park's simple act of kindness. Beauty of the oak tree, the warmth of acceptance, the pain of regret, and the overwhelming joy of being loved for who you truly are. Across space, the Devourer fleet shuddered. Ships began dropping out of formation as their crews experienced emotions they had never felt before. Some ships turned away from Earth, their commanders overwhelmed by sudden compassion for the humans they had come so far to kill. Others simply stopped, their crews paralyzed by the beauty of feelings they had never imagined. But not all of them. Marcus watched the tactical display as dozens of ships continued toward Earth, their crews either resistant to the emotional broadcast or driven mad by it. "It's not enough," Lirale said, blood running from her nose and ears. "Some of them are fighting it. Some of them are," she convulsed with pain. "Some of them are using the new emotions as fuel for their hunger. They're learning to feed on love itself. And we try something else. There is nothing else." She looked at him with her fading violet eye. "Unless... What? I've been sending them human emotions through Devourer neural pathways. But what if I sent them human thoughts through human pathways? What if I burned out my alien neural networks completely and replaced them with purely human patterns?" Marcus understood. "You'd become fully human. I had become fully human and fully dead. The transformation would destroy my body. But in those final moments, I could broadcast pure human consciousness to the fleet. Show them not just what it feels like to be human, but what it means to choose love over hunger, hope over despair, sacrifice over selfishness. Lirelei, no, it's the only way. Marcus held her close, feeling the alien wrongness of her form, but seeing only the person she had chosen to become. I can't lose you. You won't lose me, she said, smiling with the human half of her face. You'll carry me with you. In every choice you make to help instead of harm, in every moment you choose hope over fear. In every act of love you show to others, I'll be there. She kissed him then, and despite everything inhuman about her appearance, it was the most human thing he had ever experienced. I love you, Marcus Chen, she whispered. Not because I was programmed to, not because it serves some greater purpose, but because you showed me what it means to be more than what you were created to be. She turned back to the communications array and began the final transformation. Marcus watched as Princess Lirelei, the last hunter of the Devourers, burned herself.